Beetle Venture Racing isn't a super popular game like any of the other games I've talked about, but I do enjoy it the most. This is a simple racing game and it does its job very well. It's simple, but it has many hours of replay value as well. Besides it being a racing game, I also consider this an exploration game, since unlike Mario Kart, where you'll be slowed down if you drive off the path, this game has no mechanic like that. You can go full speed on any surface, making for a very interesting driving experience. Many of the shortcuts here don't even give you an advantage. If anything, they're long cuts, sometimes adding several seconds onto your time, or making no difference at all. In this video, I'll review each of these circuits, and each stage on its own as well. I'll also be doing a small history and development and my thought on faults near the end of the video. With all that said, on to the history and development of this game. Unlike other games I reviewed, there isn't much I could find for this game in the early development stages. The game is said to be an early version of Need for Speed on the Nintendo 64, but it was soon changed to Beetle Adventure Racing, except if you were an Australian, where you received HSV Adventure Racing instead, which is a reskin of the game, with the cars changed to the HSV Sport model or something like that, and they had higher top speeds, and the voice lines were changed to be more Australian. There are some unused tracks. There should be photos on screen. Many of these are test maps by looking at them, you can tell. Some of these test maps do look very interesting, and it's a shame you can't play them in the game. I also have no idea how to use Project 64 when it comes to GameShark codes, so the best we have to look at here is the images provided by the cutting room floor. This game doesn't really have a beta that's been visibly seen from what I can tell. Before going into this, I never even thought much about it. I assumed there would be some unused tracks in the code, which is true for almost every racing game. But I don't think this game was really ever popular enough to have many YouTubers looking into it. The cutting room floor page isn't even that long. Now, one thing I did learn was relation to Need for Speed, which I never played any of these games, so I may have to check them out now if they play like this game. The Novice Circuit is the first challenge the game throws you. It's within the single-player campaign and the championship races. You see there are two other circuits, Advanced and Professional. The Novice Circuit takes you to 3 tracks, Coventry Cove, Mount Mayhem, and Inferno Isle. Each of these tracks are very good, and they will be getting the red segment after this circuit's talked about. The Novice Circuit also gives you access to 3 Beetles, which is the main car of this game. It's really the only car. Each Beetle here looks identically the same, besides the wheels. One Beetle has high speed and low handling, the other one has vice versa, and the third has high acceleration but equal handling and speed, which each being lower than the acceleration stat. When I played, I always went with the high acceleration stat, since I felt like this was the most balanced since everything else is pretty much equal. The AI in these races also rubber band a few, so you'll always be trying to find new ways to pass them and get ahead of them, since at random times a Beetle can pass you going about Mach 7, and they will keep that speed for the rest of the race. It can definitely happen. It's also important to use your rear view or an extended camera angle so you can see them on your tail and when to block them from passing you. Bumping into other Beetles will make them hit their brakes, and if you're going fast enough, it can also make them explode. I always try to bump Beetles so I get ahead of them. The Novice Circuit will take you about 30 minutes. Now, if you did the math, you may realize that, well, there's 3 tracks, and it's a 30-minute total time. That means each track is about 10 minutes long. And you are right, these circuits can take forever, and the issue will be addressed later on in the video, but these maps are very long. Now, there's not a lot of other Beetles in the race as well. There's only 8 Beetles in each race, including you. Other things to spice up these races, when they kind of get a little bit boring near the end, are bonus boxes and nitro boxes. The nitro boxes speed you up, while the bonus boxes add points to your bonus score, where you then get, when you get enough, you can get a continue, or if you get all of them in the map, you can get the bonus surprise, which is a Beetle Battle map, which I'll talk about later on in this video. The way you move on here is a point-based ranking system, which I think is really good, since some of the later circuits here are pretty difficult, and with the rubber banding, you can definitely drop places really quick, and it's nice to have a little trampoline. So if you get first place for 3 out of the 5 tracks in a later circuit, but you get second on 2 of them, you can still win the circuit as a whole, because it's just math. It's just math. If you guys play the game, you'll know, and you'll see in these videos. Now, this system that's established in a Novice Circuit is here in every other circuit, so it works very well. The Novice Circuit is a fun way to play the game, but it's only as good as its tracks, which I'll talk about the first one right after this.
To Coventry Cove. Get ready.
Coventry Cove is a very easy track. The level has many areas where you can get the upper hand on the other Beetles, my favorite being the windy road up to the small town, where if you just go straight, you can get easily from 8th to 1st. There's also something I like to mention here that's just perfect about all the track design in the game, and it's not just the alternate routes, it's the starting area. Each map or track, whatever you want to call it, has a starting location and an ending area that you only enter once for the entire duration of the race. Coventry Cove is in a farm field, and you can see the hot air balloons off in the distance, as well as cows and sheep. I think it's beautiful. Then, after the starting area, this is when it takes you into the main part of the race, where you see a water wheel with the British flag signaling that you are in Britain. There is a massive bridge you drive across into a small town, or you can either jump over another bridge or jump over a stream, being an alternate route. After this, you can also continue to follow the main road, or you can follow the train tracks up through the mountain, where you can find a nitro box for nitro. This brings you to the curvy road I mentioned earlier, where you can get from 8th to 1st if you know what you're doing. After this curvy road, you can enter a barn for some bonus boxes. After this, you're given 3 more routes. The first route is the road. The second is to jump onto a Stonehenge area, and the third is up on the ridge to the mine shaft. The mine shaft I think is the fastest, and the first and second paths take you to ultimately the exact same place, where there's a set piece where you drive under a waterfall, which actually the source of the waterfall you can see inside the cave. After this, there's another basic section of one alternate path. The alternate path takes you up to the sky to get some bonus boxes to send you airborne to the final section of the map. Also, you can see a road blocked off by barriers. This is where the end of the stage is, so on lap 3, these barriers will switch, block off the main road, and send you off the alternate path. The last set piece for this stage is the castle you can enter. There isn't much inside this castle, and I've always had a little bit of trouble entering it, and once I get in, it's kind of hard to navigate because I have no idea what the hell I'm looking at. Besides all that, this track is essentially explained pretty well. The final part of the track is just 2 dirt roads into the forest. The road also loops around to the back, which you can't see where it ends, so you just see it looping around. When I was a kid, I always wanted to check this part of the map out. I have seen what's back there via YouTube, and it's literally nothing, it just ends. But I like to imagine that's how you make it to the final stage, since the road to that stage is very similar to the road here. This map is very good. On top of it being fun to play, it also has very good music, which is true of all the stages. Now, the music in this game is really good all around, but I really do like this song, since it's usually what I think of when I first play the game. When I turn it on, I'm usually thinking of this game's track. And for good reason, since you'll be revisiting this map quite a bit. The next map's atmosphere is very chilling.
Welcome to Mount Mayhem. Get ready. 3, 2.
Mount Mayhem is a snowing mountain track, and it is the second race here. I really do like this track. I think it has amazing fog all over the map, and I think it looks really good. One downside of playing this on an emulator is that I just can't witness the full glory of this beautiful fog. Now, this track has you dribbling through multiple set pieces again. Grammarly must have really messed up my script there. A theme that will be occurring throughout the entire game. The beginning part of the map is by a little small river, and you can see helicopters flying overhead, and you'll find out why later. You continue to drive through into the actual laps here, and there's a town on a ridge, and then you go into a large bridge, and there's several paths. As this game is fashioned, there are several paths you can take here. In the town, you can go down a ski slope, you can skirt around the main path, and you can also leap off the bridge here. Now, if you leap off the bridge, you can go into a cave, where it is revealed there is a UFO crashed into the mountainside. And this is why the helicopters are here, I assume. If you continue down the main path, you'll be inside a foggy area of obstacles. Now, sadly, I think this looks best on the Nintendo 64, which I think is true for all Nintendo 64 emulation. Now, before you guys go in the comments and are like, hey, idiot, if you use this plugin, it looks perfect. It looks just like it. Well, listen up, buddy. I played this game before on Project 64, and I've tried all the different plugins, and sometimes they still don't look right, and the rest of the map glitches out. So what I have now, which I think is a Glidden, still works the best. So back on to the main point here. Now, I think it does look the best on Nintendo 64 emulation. Now, this is another area in the game where you can pass cars rather quickly, since with the obstacles in the way, they'll run into each other, they'll run into obstacles, and at higher speeds, they will literally explode, and you can gain a lot of time from other cars blowing up. Now, for the next section, there's a path behind the ice wall. This is right after the foggy area. There's a path behind the ice wall that will loop you around this one area, and it will lead you into the Crystal Cave. Now, the path behind the ice wall literally adds more time to your thing, but I would never do this. In my run, I didn't do it. But what you should do is there's a loop around area. It's a big circle you gotta make. Now, there is no guardrails after one part, so you can just really easily cheese this by making a really sharp left turn and going straight into the end of it, and you will be put in the first very quickly. Now, it is a little hard to maneuver sometimes, but it can work. There's another section with 3 paths later on in the course. This is the second to last it's over. You need to gain enough speed to jump on a massive gap, to jump over this giant gap, and then you're given 2 alternate paths. Now one goes like higher up, the other leads kind of down, and they both drop you off at nearly the same point. Now if you miss the jump, you can take another alternate path that drops you off in the same area. Or you can continue on the main path, driving over another bridge. After these parts, so the rest of the map is very tame, there's not much more going on, but the rest of the laps will be pretty much the exact same. The final area is driving up a mountain where the exit is, and this is inside the Crystal Cave in the first half of the map. I don't like this part since you're like in a constant left turn, it's not very fun. Now I do enjoy this map, its setting's perfect, its music's also amazing, I like this, and it's really calming, yet it's pretty chaotic. Now the next stage is quite the opposite, temperature-wise. It gets pretty crazy.
Welcome to Inferno Isle.
Inferno Isle is it's just a crazy stage. Now this is the third and final stage inside the Novice Circuit. This stage's setting is very different, and it's very interesting. Now there's this sense of passage of time here, and you'll know as you play. You start on the beach, that you don't revisit this area, and you can overpass a few cars here by just driving right through the water, as you do in a Beetle, which probably doesn't have 4-wheel drive, in sand. But next you're driving through the jungle, which when you play it, you realize this is an obvious reference to Jurassic Park, with a dinosaur dropping down to the track when you pass by. Now, when I was a child, I was pretty scared of this part, and when I got here, I just turned it off. I turned off the system, I would just shut it off and leave. Now, after this, you drive through a town where there is a massive shortcut here, but it's kind of, I have a lot of trouble pulling this one off, so I just avoid it. If you make a hard right turn, you can just bypass. This town is kind of like San Francisco, and it like loops around. You can just bypass this, doing it in a straight line. This shortcut can put you in first very quickly. The next section has 2 more shortcuts, where the first is an off-ramp, where you jump onto the volcano, and the next is another ramp that you take off, and you do 2 jumps over the ocean, and you're pretty much there, and you can bypass a lot of beetles very quickly that way. Now, I did mention a volcano. Now, yes, a volcano. VW Beetles are traveling about 120 miles an hour into a volcano with a skull as the entrance. And, believe it or not, the interior of the volcano has roads and guardrails. It's like they designed this volcano knowing that Beetles will one day drive through it. This game's pretty badass. The rest of the track I think is kind of boring. There's a pirate ship, there's a hotel, that's about it. The main set piece of this track is clearly the volcano, and the final part of this game is right outside the volcano, and you see a little town of like Hawaiian natives, it looks like, is completely burning down. Now, forget the fact that you can actually hear the screams of people. They're probably being burned alive, but here comes the new Beetles. It's 1999. Y2K, new Beetle, move out of the way, burning man. New VW coming through, dog. Let's roll. Yes, this stage is pretty badass and morbid, but it's pretty funny when you step back to think about what's happening with the stage. These 3 stages are the Novice Circuit. The Novice Circuit as a whole isn't super hard. It's alright. It's a nice warm-up to say for the harder and more advanced, given the name Advanced and Pro circuits. The cars here are pretty slow, and the type of car you pick here probably doesn't really matter. I've always gone with the one I mentioned earlier, but the car you pick here will most likely be the same one you pick for the rest of the game. And with all that said, I think it's time for the Advanced Circuit. So now that the Novice Circuit is finished, you'll unlock 3 new cars with some added decals. Wow, look at that. The stats are largely the same as the first 3, but they're just boosted. Now, once you select your car, you'll be in for a pretty big disappointment, since you're playing on Coventry Cove again. But it's harder since the other Beetles are a lot faster now. Now, so I didn't reveal this earlier, but the way these circuits are set up, and it's strange. But the tactic here is that it's to have the player spend more time in the game. Now, it's a boring, but it's a useful way to do this. So the tactic is to have the player repeat the same maps over and over again for every single thing. They just added one at the end. Now, as I said, each circuit has a new track added to it, which is nice. This one is Sunset Sands. This is an Egypt-themed track, and this is where the game will really pick up in difficulty. This circuit's probably my least favorite. It's not super difficult. It's also not super easy. So I don't see it as like a fun cakewalk, but it's also not like a hard mess, which can be fun in the right circumstances, like the Pro Circuit. Sunset Sands is on a different level, though. It deserves a section on its own, and I'm not the biggest fan of it. But other than that, the circuit's largely the same as the Novice Circuit. It just takes longer, ironically, with being faster cars. So you guys can see that in my Sunset Sands section.
Welcome to Sunset Sands. Get ready.
Sunset Sands is the 4th track, and it's alright. I don't think it's super special. I'm not a big fan of desert stuff, especially Egypt themes. which you would know if you see my Mario 64 video, which you should definitely check out. It's very obvious once you watch that video. This map does have some good shortcuts though. There's one shortcut in the first half of the map that can instantly send you to first, and using many other shortcuts throughout the race, you can maintain first for 90% of the time, and that's what kind of makes it boring. There's no like battle between the other AI here when you're just in first the entire time. The main set piece of the stage is like this big water room inside a pyramid that you enter, and I'd say the second would be the valley, which seems to have like Babylonian ziggurats all over the place. Now, despite my disdain for desert/Egypt levels, I still think it's alright, and it's still pretty fun overall. Now, the problem is, the Advanced Circuit just isn't anything special. After how fun the Novice Circuit was, the Advanced Circuit looks like dog crap beside it. But I think the next one is much greater because of its final map and the cars. So before we get started, I would like to say, I never hit record when playing this circuit. So, I'm using the final car in the game for these races. This circuit's too hard to beat, I feel, using the Beetles unlocked after the Advanced Circuit. Speaking of the unlocks, the ones unlocked after the Advanced Circuit follow the exact same formula as the last unlock. Different colors and different decals equal better performing cars. Now I think the best one here is the flower, but with the red color. I think it looks nice. Now I like anything red in this game though, so it's a nice color. The Professional Circuit has you playing through all the tracks you've done before with one new one. The circuit takes about 40 minutes to complete, which is pretty long, especially if you lose. You can quickly become a multi-hour long endeavor. This is an issue I have with the game design here. If the circuits were just a bit shorter, as well as the tracks, I'd like it a lot more. Now, Mario Kart did this, so the game could have been capable of doing this, but if this game was too much like Mario Kart, I would have lost this character, and I still would have complained. Other than that, the Professional Circuit introduces the map, Metro Madness, which is an LA-themed stage. It's interesting, it's nice. You guys will hear me talk about it right after this.
Welcome to Metro Madness.
The track for this circuit is Metro Madness. This stage I think is the hardest at first, but if you're paying attention to the map or the road signs, it's really not that hard. If you know how to drive, you'll be fine in this stage. There are many shortcuts here, but some require some very, very hard right angle turns, which I think, in the way I play, is very hard to achieve, so I just don't even care about them. Since this track is farther into the game, I never had a real connection to this level, and it didn't interest me either. Cities to me are not super interesting, although it is based in Las Vegas, which is cool, but I don't care for the setting. It's a city, I don't care. Metro Madness is an overall fun stage. If you start on a highway, drive into the city, then through the casinos, and through an aquafire, and through a more industrial part of the city, and eventually back onto the highway, and you do it 2 more times, and you're done. The ending zone is a train station, which if you are on a bad angle, you will crash into the wall since you need to enter another building. You gotta enter the building through a very small door hole, and if you're ever so slightly off, you'll just blow up, and you'll get 3rd, 2nd, or maybe even last place if you're that bad. Now, despite not enjoying the setting, this track is still fun to play. I think I've mentioned that 100 times. Now, if all that done, the credits roll and you've beaten the game. Or have you? Now, once you come back, you do unlock the alien car. But you also notice there's a final circuit. The bonus circuit. And also, if you had a keen eye, if you watched the intro, you may have noticed there's a stage that you haven't played yet, with neon pumpkins and the alien car. Now, this is the track unlocked in the bonus circuit. The track is called Wicked Wood, and it's one of my favorites in the Wicked Woods, and it's one of my favorites in the whole game. It's super fun, and following the alien pumpkin patch is so cool. And there's many side areas you can find here.
Welcome to Wicked Woods. Get ready.
Like I said 30 seconds ago, this track is amazing. There are many set pieces here, such as the woods, the small town, the cathedral, the mansion, the pumpkin patch, the dragon, etc. I've always liked to believe that this track is connected to Coventry Cove. I just think it's a really nice idea, and it's not too far out of reach. After all, at the end of Sunset Sands, there is an island off at a distance, and this is probably Inferno Isle. This stage is overall super fun to play, and beating the bonus circuit unlocks the police beetle, which is a great way to explore and find all the unlockables. Speaking of unlockables, this game also has a big focus on exploration, with all the bonus boxes and secret paths to take around the tracks. Because of that, I also consider this to be an exploration game, or at least a racing game with exploratory aspects. The unlockables in this game are alright. There are bonus boxes, the bonus boxes we talked about earlier, but there's also cheat boxes. These boxes are very well hidden all over the track and can unlock certain cheats in the cheat menu. These cheats are pretty good. I didn't go unlock them for this review, but I have done it on the original cartridge. And as you can see, the cheats only really affect single-player races and Beetle Battle. Speaking of Beetle Battle, Beetle Battle is pretty badass. It's like the battle mode from Mario Kart 64, but better. You can shoot rockets at each other, and the goal is to gather like ladybugs of different colors, and when they're gathered, you can leave and win. It's a pretty fun way of playing it. I really do enjoy this a lot. My final faults to this game are pretty obvious. I really like this game, like, a lot. It's super fun to play. I grew up with it. It's not just... I'm not looking at this game really, like, with rose-colored glasses. I'm speaking like an idiot. And with nostalgia, I just really do enjoy this game. I think it's a lot of fun. I did play it with a authentic Nintendo 64 controller via USB. Now, I mean, this game is pretty easy with a DualShock 4, I'll tell you that. I had to switch at the end. I used that at the very end after I finished it, but let me tell you, this game is incredibly solid. This is something that really deserves a remake. Maybe with double the tracks, add some more cars, but it's got to keep that same character. And I would probably buy like 100 copies of that game. Now, with all this said, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Joseph Q773 reviews. I really can't say much more. I hope you guys subscribe, like the video, comment. I don't know, please post it somewhere. If you have a channel of your own and you want to do a little community posts with this video, go ahead. That'll be greatly appreciated. That's all I can say. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next week. I don't even know what I'm going to review next, so I'll see you guys then. Typically, I have a little outro, and and I have a still image of what I'm reviewing, but I really don't know yet. Maybe I'll do Half-Life. Maybe I'll do Sonic 3 and Knuckles. I really want to do Half-Life. I'm getting back into Half-Life, but I really do want to Sonic 3 and Knuckles as well. So we'll see what happens then. I'll catch you guys in 2 weeks for the next review, and the week after for the next regular tier list video. So see you guys then. Have a nice day. Have a good day, mate, as they say at HSV Adventure Racing. I'm off my rocker in this intro. Good grief. Well, I hope you guys subscribe, repeating myself now. Just do it. Just freaking repost this video. I don't know. Bye.